All right, so if you take a look at what we have here from the last tutorial, we just created essentially a player start, so a position where a player can move from. When we go to make our own character, we're going to be using pretty much that same start point. You can see here there's a static mesh actor, which is a floor, and it's created just by, we can create one just by clicking over here and going to essentially modeling tools. Or I'm sorry, we go to select mode here and we go to modeling, and we have all these different options. So let's go ahead and delete our floor here. And then let's just click on rect here. And what I'm going to do is just click once. And you can see here that I would like to zero these out, these location parameters here within the details panel. And for those of you who don't know, up in the right hand corner here, as I mentioned before, this is the outliner that has all of our different elements. And if we select one of these elements, you can get information about it within this detail panel. Now, I tend to go pretty fast in my tutorials, not because I'm trying to skip over elements. It's just that a lot of these things are going to become redundant when I'm going through them. So I would rather that we kind of like jump in and we start building cool things. So anyway, once I left click, I select rectangle and I click once on the floor, I set it to 0, 0, 0. We can actually edit this. So I'm going to go ahead and click on complete here. And there is our plane. Now I can hit R and I can, or this tool, this option here, and this will allow me to scale up my plane. So I can click in the middle here and I can scale it up like that. Notice as I'm scaling it up, there's corresponding values here. So let's type in, let's say 40. I hit enter. Notice it only goes in one direction. But if I check on this lock and I type 40 in here again and press enter, actually let's unlock that. We'll make it 6. And then let's click off, lock it again, and then type 40 here. There we go. Now you can see it pretty much copied those values all the way across all 3 sections. And you can press play and see if that looks like good enough space for you. Another way of doing it is, because we decided to create this plane out of the modeling mode, we can actually go down here to the poly model section and select Polyedit, and I can go over the edge here and I can start to move. Let's kind of move off to the corner here, the edge around, or the vertice, with this locator tool. So if I click on this little yellow line, it's kind of hard to see because the selection is yellow. Let's see. Here's the click on the blue, then the yellow. You can see I'm actually able to move it. Now let's make sure that we're actually selecting. So I'm going to expand that a little bit. You can see we have edges, vertices, and faces. So I'm going to uncheck these. And now what you get is essentially you're able to select only individual elements. So I can't select the face. So for those of you who don't know, if I turn on face here, a face consists of, it's a shaded area that consists of 4 or really 3 or more sides. If it has more than 4 sides, we usually just refer to it as an n-gon. There's also these vertices here, which are these points in the corner, and it's where 2 lines meet. Now, I'm going to turn all 3 of those on. And like I said, we can go in here and edit this as well. And there's a lot of these different modeling tools, but we'll get into that stuff shortly. What I'd like to do right now is I'd like to find a reference image that I can put on this plane and use as sort of a modeling, as a way for us, as a plan to model. So I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to go to this website called houseplans.com. All right, so here we are at houseplans.com. Really, pick any house that has reasonable detail that you like. If you go to the modern section, you can see some big and small houses. To start with, I might go with something like this. So let's go ahead and click on that. And what's nice about this is not only do you have a nice rendered view of the house, so you can save this page, but they also give you all the interior images. And if you continually scroll through, let's see if there's a way we can get down to, oh, here we go. You can see we get the actual floor plans for the house below it. You can click on it. You can see they're also actually in here if you go down further enough. So it's sort of nice if you're modeling a house and you need tons of reference, this is the place to go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pick maybe, yeah, this level looks good. So it's sort of this open floor plan, kitchen, dining room, bedroom, and all that. And I'm just going to right click and then I'm going to save this image to my desktop and then I'm going to import it into our Unreal project. So I'm going to go ahead and pause this video and go ahead and save this to my desktop, and then when we return, you'll see that we'll be in Unreal. All right, so here we are back in Unreal. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click all the way up on content here. Now here's the thing. If you don't see your content browser, say it's closed out, if you hold Control and hit spacebar, you can see it'll pop up, and then just click Dock and Layout. Now this is where we have access to all of our assets before it even goes into the outliner. So in the content folder here, you can see we have characters, all this stuff. I'm going to right click and I'm going to create a new folder and just call it REF for ref. And then inside of here, I'm going to right click, and then you can see here, let's see, where is that? Import to game ref. So that's the ref folder we're in. So once I click on that, I'll be able to navigate to that image and just select it. So I'm going to pause the video and just grab that image. All right, so now that we have our floor plan, there's a couple ways that we can go about applying it. I can actually just left click and drag and drop it onto here, and it'll create a floor plan material for me and apply it on here. Or we can right click in here, go to create material, and we'll name this FP for floor plan. And really I'm going to delete that anyway, but I can double click this material and it'll open up this it'll go within the material node by double clicking it. You can see here we have essentially a really like a PBR based setup here where we can plug in a base color. So for example, say we type in like let's see, vector 3. Here is a constant vector for the color. Yeah, so constant vector 3, for example, it gives us RGB values. We can plug that into a base color here. And then, let's see, and then here under constant, I can select the color and then hit OK, and then apply that. You can see it applies it within there. So make sure that we are using the color instead of in the black area. The other way we can do it is in here, I can drag this out a little bit, and I can actually just drag this image. There's also this content drawer here, which is the same as my content browser here. So I can drag the image from here, and then this texture sample will load in, and I can wire that into here. Then I can save that, and you'll see that this image will look a lot like that one once it's done. See that? You can also right-click in here and do a texture sample node, which is this right here. And then notice here, there's a texture. And if we click here, it automatically loaded that, but we can, let me delete this one here. There's just a bunch of different ways to do it is what I'm showing you. And we're getting an error because we never selected this image or any image to put in there. And then I can save that. And then if we go back in here, you can see it loaded it. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this. Now, it looks like our image is a little skewed here. What I'd like to do is to get it to fit right inside of here. So there's a bunch of different tools. You could kind of eyeball it and scale it like that. There's also these UV tools, which are down here. There's like an auto UV feature, which sort of really just kind of grids across it. Let's see. We have set UVs from projection, and this allows us to sort of rotate or move those UVs around on there. There's this great unwrap, but looks like it's just sort of showing us the UV projection. But once we did that, actually, let's do that again. So auto UV, and let's look at our settings here. We accept that. It looks like the best form of quick projection. We'll get into all of this like unwrapping stuff later when we actually kind of create a character. But for now, like what we can do is just sort of give ourselves a little bit, just kind of eyeball it a little bit, and then we'll get into unwrapping because it's out of the scope of this particular video. But anyway, now that I press play, you can see that our character is really tiny in comparison to what the building is going to look like. So I'm going to go ahead and hit escape here. And let's bring this down a lot. So let's try, instead of almost 40, let's try 15. And let's press play. And that's looking a little bit better, right? Like Maybe we'll go 20 because we sort of want to exaggerate it so our character can easily get around. So I'm going to press escape here. Let's take this up to 20. And this will be the last time I fiddle with it during the tutorial. Because I want to kind of move on to the next tutorial where we actually start modeling these walls. So for me, for right now, this looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. So in the next video, what we'll do is we'll start to build out the walls.